Hello, BookTube. I have another tag. I'm doubling up on the tags today. The guys at Strip Cover Lit have made a vow to do new tags on Tuesday, and they're been incredible. These tags are just incredible. Even the ones where I can't quite figure out how to do. I'm missing one from my lineup because I can't quite figure out how to do it. The Daisy's green light tag that Adrian Fort made up a little while ago sort of relies on you talking about books that you've forgotten you own, and I've worked hard in the last year to make sure there are no such books like that in my collection. I just haven't figured out a way to do it, but I will. But in the meantime, Tuesday came and went yesterday, and Adrian came up with another tag, and it's one that I can certainly do. It's fantastic. All of these tags are so good. It's called "Oh, Just a Terrible Book Tag," and it allows you to let your negativity flag fly. And the first, it's all just grousing, complaining, and ragging on things. And the first one is, what is the worst book that you have read for pleasure? And for me, that would be The Love Letter by Kathleen Shine. It looks like a trifle. It certainly reads like a trifle. You would think that I am racking a butterfly to say that it is the worst novel ever written in the history of the genre, but it is. There are, and I don't mean it as a knock on the author. I myself don't like any of her novels, but the other novels that she's written, I might not have liked them. In fact, some of them I disliked, but there wasn't anything. This novel is bad on many levels, some of which are deep and important and subversive. It is a trifle of a book, but I still don't hesitate in calling it the worst novel ever written. Not just the worst novel that I've read for pleasure, but the worst novel that anyone's ever written. And that's not a knock on the author, except in the commission of this book, because she herself is wonderful and funny and a really, really good teacher. It's just this book. Anyway, question number 2 is, what is the worst book you ever read for school? And that would be The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. I had avoided it. I had read a little other Faulkner and thought, okay, well, I get the gist here. This is a talentless crap. And then I had Sound and the Fury assigned in class, and not only did I have to reread it or read it for a class and just hate it. It's all of the crappiness of Faulkner just weaponized to new levels of crappiness. Not only that, but I had to listen to some earnest grad student wax on about it as if it were Homer and Shakespeare rolled into one. It was ridiculous. And I took my revenge in the paper that I wrote. Then question number 3 is, who is the worst writer ever? And I know a lot of you are going to think that I'm going to say Stephen King, because I've bashed him many times on this channel, or maybe some other writer. But no, the name that I'm going to suggest for the worst writer ever, certainly we can't say worst writer ever. We're going to have to say the modern era. I mean, ever. The worst writer ever probably is not remembered and has never been read. But the worst writer in modern times certainly is a name you might not know. His name is Martin Dugard. And he's written a few books on his own, but he is by far more famous, connected to fame, by being the writer of all of Bill O'Reilly's history sacrileges, killing the SS, killing Patton, all of those books, those airport wonders that where Bill O'Reilly gives him a phone call, demands to be put on speakerphone, bloviates for 15 minutes, and then Martin Dugard writes up the book. And he doesn't just write up an account of the book and then Bill O'Reilly slaps his name on it. No, he massages, he warps the stuff that he's writing about according to what he already understands as Bill O'Reilly's cranky old man idiocies. And the results are sacrilegious. They aren't just awful books. He has a long string of bestsellers to atone for, and he can't do it on his own, because when he writes books on his own, he's just as bad. More earnest, less bald-faced lying, but just as bad. So this is a guy, and horrible history pastiches, stuff like that. It's nonfiction, so it's not going to reach that many people. Ordinarily, I wouldn't condemn him this way, but those Bill O'Reilly books have reached a vast audience because of Bill O'Reilly. Because before he left his job unceremoniously and quickly, rather than be hauled into federal court for groping women in front of other women in his office, before he did that, he was directly plugged into the cerebral cortexes of millions and millions and millions of Americans. And they still believe everything he says, everything that has his name on it. So those books, it's not just that they're fly-by-night and crappy and moth-eaten. They're also able to do a serious amount of intellectual harm So he would get the prize for me, dubious as it is. Then question number 4, worst book to movie adaptation. And those of you who have been watching this channel for a very long time will know that I think most movie versions of books are better than the books they're adapted from. I don't see how that could be otherwise in most cases, because most the bedrock reason for that is because most authors are bad. We just don't like to say that, but most authors are bad. And all the bad stuff in their book is the stuff that is removed when it's made into a movie. So it stands to reason. In fact, it's impossible otherwise that the movie version would be better. But sometimes the movie version is worse. Much worse. Much, much worse. And in this case, I do have a candidate. It's a 2007 movie called Virgin Territory, starring the one and only, thank God, Hayden Christensen. And it is an adaptation of Boccaccio's Decameron. And it is just, I mean, it's awful on its own. It's awful on its own to watch. Yes, you can ogle at Hayden Christensen, but the acting, especially him, the writing, the few lame, lonely vestiges of Boccaccio. Oh God, there's a great movie to be made of the Decameron, and this is the opposite end of that spectrum. So I'd say that it probably wins for me for worst adaptation from a book. And then question number 5, what is your least favorite type of book video to film? And I don't have a least favorite type of BookTube video to film. I love it all. I don't consider them types of videos. I consider them conversations with you that might have a theme or a spine, but otherwise, I enjoy it all. Believe you me, it might be true for some other BookTubers, but I do not have any duties on this channel. None at all. None. I don't do anything here out of duty. I do it all because I enjoy it. And I enjoy your company. That's all. That's the only reason. So there might be, some of you might be happier if I had a sense of duty. We'd be well along in our presidential library series, for instance. We'd have 100 more starter kits. You tease me about that all the time, but at least understand the reason why those things haven't happened on a regular basis is because I don't view any of this as duty. This is all fun. So I don't really have an answer to the question. I do, however, have answers to the next question. The next one... Oh, that's the mail. But we're almost done. Let's just push on. Question number 7 is number 6 is, what is your least favorite BookTube video to watch? Your least favorite kind of BookTube video to watch. And although I admit I'm not all that fond of unhauls, I just... Sometimes I see books being unhauled that really ought to be kept, especially when I can see clearly the books on your shelf that you are keeping. But even there, it's interesting because I watch for people, not for types of videos. No, the type of BookTube video that is my least favorite to watch are inept BookTube videos. Which is a little awkward because I am very low tech here, but nevertheless, I think you know the kind I mean, where someone gets in front of the camera and decides to talk about something without having learned anything about it ahead of time. So they just stumble in the middle of their description. I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce the author's name. I don't know where the author's from. I don't know what book this is in the series. I don't know any of the character names. I liked it kind of, I guess. I liked it kind of, I guess. You want me to listen to that? Or when they're in the middle of something and they think, yeah, I want to talk to you about these 2 books that I read recently because they've really been on my mind. Oh, hang on, sorry. How about you take care of your bodily needs before you make your 5-minute video? Okay, I think you can probably go 5 minutes without gulping liquid in front of me, without eating food in front of me. I think you could probably do that. Or somebody making a video and they're talking about a book and they think, oh yeah, I remember I was reading this and somebody gave me a keepsake. Didn't have anything to do with the book, but it was so much fun. I think I still have it somewhere. And then for the next 10 minutes, you hear them rustling around off camera where you're just staring into space. Yes, we are talking to each other. Yes, we are friends, but this is also... Think of it as, well, I can't even say think of it as a letter because most of you are too young to remember what those were like. There is an element of presentation here. I know I'm on weak standing to point that out, but nevertheless, there's an element of presentation here. You have to pay attention. You have to bear down and concentrate on what you are doing. It's only a little bit of your time. If you were making, for instance, 4 40-minute videos a day, then maybe I could understand it. But if you're making one 5-minute video every 4 days, every week, every 2 weeks, maybe don't subject your viewers to any of that amateurish crap. Okay, maybe just bear down and make a finished thing. And also, you know, when I hear people say, yeah, I know that was really awkward, but I couldn't cut around it when I was doing my editing. No, you don't cut around it. You do it over. You're not Albert Schweitzer. Your every minute is not accounted for. Do it over if it's wrong. Anyway, those are the kinds of BookTube videos that are my least favorite. Are what I can't help but call inept BookTube videos. Let's just move on. Question number 7. The worst book cover ever. You know, I thought about this when I was writing down these questions in ye old notebook, and really, I know it's a bit of a dodge, but it's virtually any cover for a U.S. literary fiction. Virtually any of them. And don't even get me started on U.S. covers for works of history. Blurred, sepia-tone photographs of some guy in a crowd when anything would be better. And there are many things to choose from, and you just don't do it because I guess it's visual iconography to signal that your book is a work of history. But no, it's not just signaling that. It's also signaling your work is boring and that history is by extension boring. I don't want you to signal any of that. That's not true. so virtually any American cover design, I'm afraid. It's a bit of a punt. But then question number 8. What is the least fun you've ever had reading a book? And you know, I'm going to name a book here. I'm going to name The Cow with Ear Tag number 1389 by Catherine Gillespie from last year, a book about where the author follows one dairy cow through her life and her horrific experiences. I'm going to name that one, but I think really it's a category of books. I have to read them. If they're new, I want to read them. But some of them are not pleasant reading at all. And the ones, there are 2 main categories, like the carbon ideologies or the uninhabitable earth, where these books are about global warming. They're about catastrophic climate change and its inevitable effects that are coming for your children. Your children are going to live in that world. And in fact, there's growing scientific evidence that you are going to live in that world. You're going to die in it. You're going to grow old in it. And it's a hellscape. And the books about that, about catastrophic climate change, I have to read them, and they're not pleasant reading. But there's an element of pleasure for me in the background of reading such books because humanity deserves that. I'm no big fan of the species, just conglomerately in general. And humans have had a chance, eyes wide open, right in front of them for decades to do something about this, and they haven't done it. Collectively, they haven't done it. So there's an element, at least, of schadenfreude there. But the other kind, the other category, the one that like Gillespie's book, is about animal cruelty. It's about hunting, or the history of wolf hunting in America, or the meat industry, or the poultry industry, or anything like that. And stuff like that, those are deeply unpleasant to read. Deeply unpleasant. I have to read them. They're new. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to them. And they might, in their own way, be good, right? You know what I mean? Even a very, very unpleasant book can still be thrillingly done. Wonderfully done. So I read them, but they're extremely unpleasant. I don't know if I could pick just one. Just one superlative. I'll pick that book because it's on my mind. But there are any book like that. There are a few coming out this year. Then question number 9 is the last book you DNF'd, and I don't think I have. I do stop reading books, but DNF means, all right, I'm done. I've tried this. I've given it as many tries as I can. I'm not going to go back to it. I'm moving on to something else. And I'd like to think I don't do that anymore, especially with new books. I might stop reading them just because I'm bumping into one thing after another that's annoying me. Like just yesterday, I started reading what's the title of the book? Soon the Light Will Be Perfect. It's Hicklit. It's trailer trash fiction, and I don't mind that because I've read some Hicklit that's very good, but this isn't at all. And I just started reading it, and it was and to think I was touting it because it had an air about it that I kind of liked, and then I dipped a toe in, and that is not a DNF though, because I will go back to it. I will read it. In fact, I'll probably end up reading it more than once. I'll probably read it first time in a galley copy, and then second time all over again in the finished copy, just to be sure that the author isn't trying something that I'm not seeing. So not DNF'd. I'm having a hard time remembering the last time I started a new book, got to a point where everything that was happening was disappointing me, and then just said, I'm going to stop reading this. I'm just going to put it away. I'm not going to finish it. I can't remember off the top of my head the last time I did that. I'd like to think it doesn't happen anymore. And then number 10 is tag some terrible booktubers and insult them. that was by far the most enjoyable part of Adrian's own videos, him just insulting people. And I have some terrible booktubers that I want to tag, starting with Britta Bowler. I'm not sure how much variety there'll be in the answers to her questions because, her channel, it's all chick lit, fluff. I keep wanting her to try and read something sincere, something with meat on its bones, maybe even try her hand at writing. But no, it's all fairy lights and bubbles and background music and one rom-com after another. And then there's Sarah from Steeped in Books. Would it kill you to crack a smile once in a while? Geez, what a somber channel. It's like watching a Mennonite funeral. And then there's Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading. I don't know how people get through her videos. Just a constant stream of obscenities. And the belching and the armpit scratching. I mean, young lady, you're in front of an audience. You might try being a little more presentable. Jeez. Well, those are 3 terrible booktubers I'll tag in this tag. And I'm very grateful to Adrian for tagging me. I can't wait for next Tuesday's tag. But in the meantime, now that I'm done with the tag, I'm going to go see what the mailman left. So I might see you real soon. Thank you, BookTube.